Hello and welcome. Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you'd like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the land upon which I reside. So we have a new moon coming up. It will be in the astrological sign of Leo. And depending on where you are in the world, it will be either on the 24th or the 25th of July here in Adelaide, South Australia. It will be taking place at 4:41 a.m. on the 25th of July. And it will be in the early degrees of Leo, so 2 degrees and 8 minutes. And of course, at the time of the new moon, this is when the sun and the moon are conjunct right next to each other, meaning that it's also the time when the sky is at its darkest. So it's all about what is hidden or what has the potential to emerge. It's also about a refreshment, the planting the seed, so to speak. So if you're wanting to manifest, bring things into your life, especially over the next 6 months until we have the full moon in Leo, then look to see if you've got a copy of your natal or birth chart, what house Leo, in particular 2 degrees of Leo, falls in, because this will indicate the area in your own life that you should be focusing on to bring this new energy in. This energy, because Leo is a fire sign, it's like a fiery start. And as Molly McCord puts it, when you are being aligned with the sort of new creation, this new direction, this new willingness to be stronger in who you are and to follow what and where you want to move towards next. So it's all about the sort of forward motion. And all the characteristics of Leo are the sort of fiery energetics, because it is a fixed fire sign. And then we've added to that is this other layering of the moon being in the early degrees of Leo. And what's actually quite interesting is that we do have 7 planets or points all in these early degree points between 0 and 2 degrees of their signs. We have the sun and the moon in Leo. We have Pluto in Aquarius. We have Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And there's also the dwarf planet Sedna. It's also in the early degree points. And I think Uranus is also in the degree points as well, and that is in the early degree points of Gemini. In fact, it's just moved, or very recently moved, into Gemini. So this is all about new beginnings. However, in order for these new beginnings to occur, the old must be released. It must collapse. It must break down. And I guess in a way, this is what we are seeing is happening around us with all this chaos and instability. And it is sort of reflected in the astrology. We have the sun and the moon directly opposite. Pluto, as I said, is in Aquarius. It's at 2 degrees, 36 minutes. And it is, I think it's retrograding. I might have to double check that for a moment. Yes, it is in retrograde. We retrograde until October. So this sort of retrograding Pluto is challenging the sort of new energy of the new moon. It's breaking down, it's causing destructions, but it's also evolving and transforming. And with the sun and moon conjunction being at basically the same territory where we had Mars and Pluto opposition that happened back in January and lasted all the way through until late April this year, this opposition with the new moon is almost like a checking in point as to who we are now, because the sun is all about our identity, our external sort of perception or persona. The moon is about our internal lives as well. So who are we now? How are we allowing the more sort of powerful consciousness of the universe to elevate us, to transform us, especially in more personal ways. So during this new moon, it might be a good time to ask yourself, are you allowing yourself to be completely transformed? Especially after the ongoing sort of Mars and Pluto oppositions that we experienced, and which will occur again through Leo, through this new moon in Leo. What are you now compared to, say, or where are you now compared to where you were, say, 4 months ago, or during the first 4 months of the years? Do you experience some kind of challenge where, or which may have felt that things have been working against you, or you may have felt uncertain about things? If you did, how is this playing out now? Because this could be that there are actually the higher forces in the universe, your soul, your higher consciousness, whatever term you want to use, attempting to assist you in rising above your self-identity, the sort of ego consciousness, or even what you're wanting that is being manifested on the sort of more ego-centered, connected plane. So we are rising, or being encouraged to sort of rise above the egotistic sort of like I am self, not dismiss it, but just rising above it. And we are beginning to be granted the ability to see things beyond us from a higher perspective, especially as we go through, I guess, what could be termed as cosmic initiations or spiritual initiations, which tend to occur at these early degree points in the astrological signs as we move into new territories, again, challenging us to grow, to move forward, to evolve even more on a spiritual level. We're being encouraged to rise up, so move beyond just the I am, me in my own little sort of ball, my own sort of like self-identification, to how we sort of interact or interplay, or how energy interplays in the whole or scheme of things in the greater consciousness, so to speak. At this new moon, it's also about the self-identity, where we are experiencing any resistance of being sort of pushed back by Pluto's sort of evolve or die energy, really. As the planetary energies change, as they move into the new signs and transforms, this also means that we're meant to change and transform with them on a personal level as well. And then that flows out into the collective, where all our energies intertwine. And this Leo energy is about maintaining the strength, the fire, the drive, as we focus on creating sort of new versions of ourselves or our sovereignty, because Leo is very much connected with self-identity, along with Aries. And especially finding our place amongst the chaos that Pluto is breaking down. There's this encouragement not to lose sight of the end goal, despite all these challenges around us. The Sun and Moon conjunction is supportive, or in a very supportive trine to Saturn and Neptune, which are in conjunct at 1 and 2 degrees of Aries. They're both in a retrograde now. And when planets go into retrograde, they sort of give us a chance to sort of go within, to do a little bit of sort of self-analyzation, to reflect, sort of like revisit things and where we are now, just taking stock. So the new moon is in conjunction with Saturn and Neptune conjunction, and it's also in a sextile with the electrifying and energizing Uranus, which, as I mentioned, has just moved into Gemini. So it's at 0 degrees, I think 41 minutes. And these planetary energies are offering support to the new parts of ourselves that are beginning to emerge. What's really important too is that Leo is about the heart center, our heart chakra and Ahata. It's also about Manipura, our solar plexus chakra, which is connected in with our personal power, our sense of self-worth, how we see ourselves in the world around us. And at this new moon, we are beginning to be given the opportunity to rise up, to stand in our power. What has been churning away at you that up until now you have sort of been going with the flow, so to speak, not making waves. Now you may feel, especially at this new moon, the sort of that almost enough is enough. It's time for you to rise up and not only speak your truth, how you feel about things, but what can you do about it? Especially owning that part of you. Because likewise with Aries, Leo's focus is largely on sovereignty, our personal power, reclaiming back, especially what we have been offloading our power onto others. And as we call back our personal power, consider its vibration, its frequency. Remember that we are all energetic beings, and consider not only what power you are attracting due to the vibrational level that you are emitting. Is it, say, a lower energetic based on fear or anger, frustration, etc.? Or is it at a higher level that is based around, say, love, peace, joy, etc.? And this is important because like attracts like. This is one of the basic universal laws. So to help us, especially during these more challenging times, and we seem to be going through a lot of the challenges more recently or more recent years, and they're going to continue for a little bit longer, as we're sort of like stepping into the new, but in order to step into the new, the old has to sort of break away, and we also need to change as well. So it's important that we consider and be mindful of what energy or the energetic level we're at and what we might be attracting into our life based on our energetic vibration. This does not necessarily mean that you have to be all blissful, happy, and positive all the time, because to me that sort of hints at spiritual bypassing, because life itself ebbs and flows. But what it means is that we need to allow our emotions as possible to ebb and flow along with the energetics, and gently breathing, allowing things to go, and also looking at the other energies around us that we are attracting in and taking a little bit more self-responsibility. And so as an increasing number of people, I'm just trying to get my words right, especially in the spiritual spheres, are sort of talking about this new world that we are creating. Stop and have a think about what role will you be playing? What is your contribution? Are you all in your head, sort of gushing the words and the dreams? And believe me, I've heard a lot of people sort of like keep talking about it and it's all words. Or are you going to actually put those words into, example, putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak? Are you jumping on board because it's the next best thing? Or is it something that you feel deeply, passionately about, taking that sort of Leo fire energy? And as I said, with this new moon being opposite Pluto, Pluto is sort of shaking up this veneer, the sort of false ego layerings of sort of playing the role in order to receive all the external love or respect or social media likes, recognitions, etc. Because Pluto is about the truth. It wants truth and authenticity. And again, are you walking your walk? How actually authentic are you in your own self? as opposed to your external self, that one that you are presenting to the world. And it's quite interesting because we've got Uranus in Gemini, and this is also connected with the mind, but the higher thoughts. And as Molly McCord indicates, codes of remembrance of what we have come here to experience, as to why our soul has incarnated at this time, especially when chaos is happening all around us. And it seems to be reigning supreme on our planet. There is a reason why each and every one of us are here. We just need to remember this, to come back to our truth, our deepest sort of soul truth, instead of the egotistical truth that we tend to be under, especially, and this is happening within spiritual circles as well, where there is an increase in, I don't want to be too sort of judgmental, but it's almost like within spirituality, it's almost like now it's a supermarket. It's almost like the authenticity of spiritual beings is being sort of traded on the stock exchange, so to speak. And now we have to sort of break away from that and come back to the true authentic self. And this is what Uranus and Gemini is reminding us, to come back to this remembrance, to let go of that ego truth and come back to the heart, soul truth. It was also sort of was pre-warning us that there are going to be life changes, or there could be life changes, as to how we live our daily lives, as to what we bring into our lives, as now, thanks to Pluto, there is space now. Space for us to surrender, to release what is no longer wanted or serving us, and then allowing this sort of Uranian energy to come in. And it's interesting because Uranus in Gemini is not all about words with the mind, or works only with the mind. It's also connected with a deeper level of soul knowingness. Uranus is also very fast moving. It shakes up the status quo. And it also reveals what we really want to focus on, especially at a soul level, that truly resonates with us. Again, moving from the ego, the external desire, to the soul, to the internal desire. As mentioned, we have 4 planets. For outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus, all in the early degree points of their signs. And they are actually, all 4 of them are creating what's called a minor grand trine, with Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries, sort of being at the apex. And then we have Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. And this is sort of indicating a new sort of timeline or opportunity in our reality. And this is what's being created, especially with our cosmic intention. Cosmic intention is Uranus, and consciousness is the Neptune. And this is coming in to at a more personal level at this new moon. And as we pull it back into the physical self, which is Aries, where Saturn and Neptune are, there will be immediate responses and stabilization of these new changes, especially occurring or encouraging a higher degree and level of trust as to what is being created, that's sort of unfolding around us. So we need to sort of breathe, surrender, and trust once more the higher forces in the universe. And coming back to this new moon in Leo, it's also sort of time to come back home to the self, to what is true, what is authentic, what's the authentic version of us that exists beneath the roles that we play, the patterns that we follow, expectations of others, but also the expectations we place on our own selves that we think other people do have. Now is the time to shed all those, to allow these to sort of fall away, and in their place to rediscover what remains that will actually lead us to having a greater power within our greater sovereignty, and then giving that space for this to rise up. So it's all about coming back to the heart, to our deep sense of self. And from that point where we are able to, as I said, embrace our true authenticity, not the ego self, the image that we are so used to projecting into the world to get all those sort of recommendations and approval for others, but to step into our own true self and sort of rise up and embrace our worthiness. I said this is all Manipura energy. And again, breathe. Breathe deeply. Surrender the limitations of the old ways of the egotistical mind and allow your consciousness the space for it to rise up with these new energies that are coming in. So what I will do is in a few days' time, I will make available another video, and this time it will be just a simple meditation. I don't do meditations with all the sort of background noise or things like that. I like it very simple, just the spoken word and an image, because that helps us develop the ability to go into a meditation wherever we are, regardless of what's happening around us. So I will release a video, if you'd like to listen to it, that will be focusing on this heart-centered expansion. And also below this recording, as I do with all the other recording, will be the links to the astrologers whose information I have sort of gathered together to create this, because I'm not an astrologer myself, but I do use the works of Pam Gregory, Martin McCord, and others. So please check out their links as well and their expert advice about this upcoming new moon. Take care and see you again soon. That's it.